Hello everyone, my name is Whoa It's Pete. I'm a local champ out of the Northeast and New England regions in the USA. And today I'd like to show how a simple fix from a UR report can be so much more. How you can go from just making a quick fix to actually just fixing an entire intersection beyond the issues of what the reporter had. We'll also show that there's a little bit of false positives with some scripts, so you have to be careful there. And this will also just touch a little bit on lanes, turn instructions, and angles. So let me dive right in here. Our report actually came from an editor in the region, New England region here, who was driving. First, they were coming off this off-ramp here and received a keep left when they were going straight across. And from Atlantic Avenue, they had the wrong lane guidance. And we actually have a screenshot here from that direction. You could see that they were given one straight arrow with no second lane, though it did combine the left and the right. And as you can see here, we have a straight, a right, and then here we have the left and straight that were in the report there heading towards that. You'll also notice in the report, again, the reporter was reporting just this arrow, but you'll notice there were no shields here. So now we have a second fix already built off of this just from this screenshot. So first looking at this, the current lanes were set up in 2020. The junction box was set up in, 2021, as well as the junction box was set up in 2021. So this was before we had paths and far lanes. But at the time we had heuristics. And in this case, the heuristic isn't playing nicely. So normally with lanes, we have a nice H intersection. As you can see, we have kind of a curve here. It's probably within the bounds of the H intersection. LaneTools here, the script is giving us a green showing the heuristic would work. But it does not play nice when there's two segments coming in. It really wants this segment gone, the heuristic, so it would have a nice H intersection. So they also don't always play nice with junction boxes. So now that we have far lanes, we would actually prefer to do a FL1 far lane one's path with the junction box to do this. So we would start here quickly by removing this middle segment's lanes. We don't need that anymore. And we go to this one, and we look here, and we would set the far lanes. But before getting into that, I also want to kind of think back to the second issue. The reporter here was getting a keep left as they came off the off-ramp and into this intersection. So this keep left came because we have two unnamed ramps. They're both potential continuations here. So it's giving a keep left and a keep right. Well, as you can see here with the lanes, we have two left turn lanes, a straight lane, and then this AGC as a turn right lane. You don't want to be here keep left because the user may think they're going to either keep left into the turn lanes. They really want something like a continue straight here. And that's just because of this setup. So this junction box now, since we're already setting the paths here, we'd really love to set paths over here. That junction box give us all four lanes at once through far lanes, and we can set the path turn instructions and continue straight instructions so the person knows to go from these two lanes here into the correct which of those four lanes they're getting to. So while I'm removing those lanes, I'm going to remove the existing junction box as well. Now, before I set up lanes, I'm also seeing, this is, we have pretty nice geometry almost right over the center line heading southbound, but heading northbound, our geometry is going right through the turn lanes only, and that might not be great for Falcon. And if you turn on the GPS layers, yes, most traffic is turning right here. They're heading towards the highway. This is out of an industrial park. But as you can see, we have our red tracks up the center, and, they're kind of missing here where the traffic merges on. So let's do a quick little geometry fix first. Let's get everything kind of lined up here. We don't need that perfect H intersection anymore because we're going to be using the junction box to kind of clean that up. And let's just kind of move everything over here. Oop. There we are. And, let's clean this back up. So here's where our two kind of lanes end. And then let's nicely just have this come up. And, it doesn't come through the intersection perfectly. There is only one straight lane and it goes into two lanes. But, we're close enough here. That's going to be much better for Falcon. It's going to look a lot nicer in the app than it did before. Much smoother. We can see we're much more centered now compared to the old one. And while we're at it, I'd also like to not have this AGC come in at such an angle. Again, for Falcon, but also they will now get a turn left here. This is a legal turn. It's not the best. You only get like 80 feet to turn. But for best practices, let's get that on there. We're going to enable the turn. And looks like we can save there, and we'll save frequently. Let's also look at the ramps while we're talking here. I know I just fixed that in, but let's also talk about the ramp here while we're going. Let's straighten these out. Again, Falcon likes these to be somewhat centered if we can. That's a little bit of a steep angle there. Especially if I pull this back here, it's a little bit of a wide obtuse angle, and we're having some display issues. So let's pull that back. Kind of just match it up, and that'll be better. Smoother angle, just looks nicer in the app. And we're going to get this under US guidance. We're going to bring this to the gore point. We want at least a 21-degree angle, which we do kind of have, so we'll leave that. And, here we're in the center of the 3 lanes. And we're pretty good back here. This is 2 lanes. We're kind of already centered. I'll just clean that up a little bit. But that should really fix some of our geometry here. So we came to just do where, earlier we could have just put a none instruction to get rid of the keep left there. And we could have, kind of just fixed the current junction box. But so far, we've now fixed geometry, which is going to help Falcon. We've now got that keep left we're going to get out of here shortly. So let's now build the junction boxes. Now we can build our paths through here. So we're going to go to roads. We're going to junction box. I want to include over here so I can catch the split over here. And, sometimes I draw them a little bigger than that. Sometimes I like to do shapes, but this should work fine. We shouldn't be shifting these lanes out too much in the future. So we have our junction box. And so now let's go back to our original issue here with the lanes. So we now have our path left, our path straight, our path right. As we see, it's a right turn and a straight on. So we're going to look at paths. And we're going to look left onto Presidential Way. There we are. And we'll have our right turn right off that. And we'll just put the left lane here as a straight. And because we are getting onto a highway, and that has implications for highway speeds, the avoid highways toll, and just it's in the US Wiki to, to do that, to get on a highway, to use a continue straight, just to warn users that they're getting on an interstate. We're going to override that with verbal instructions. We could also just click the green arrow up top here and put a continue instead, but it looks nice in the lanes as well. So, it's all in one spot. And there we are. We're going to have the continue on there. We're going to have the left turn, and it's just going to show up properly. It's going to combine just from far lanes. So that one is set. We'll save. We'll come back for the turn instructions later. Let's get the lane set first. Our lanes, these directions, are all set as well. They should be the same. Now, this was 2 lanes coming up northbound. And again, this is an issue not reported. But we have 2 lanes, and the right lane becomes turn only, while you need to be in the left lane to continue straight. The left of the original lanes, I should say. It's, the second from the left in the 4. But because that is a little confusing, again, by US Wiki standards, we're just going to put a view only, or without verbal instructions, as it's now called, just to give the user a little bit of extra reassurance to go straight there. And so we're all set here. We don't need to put any. We'll also put a far turn here on Commerce Way. We don't have to, but that'll give a U-turn. The heuristics will already give a U-turn, but it's always just nice to do that. And actually, I should double check that it does a U-turn. We're just going to give it an override for now, because it may not actually have enough. It should have enough of an angle to be correct for a U-turn, but we'll just make sure it does. So we now have all of the correct lanes on that. We'll come southbound. We're going to do the same. We have 2 lefts. We don't need far lanes there. That's fine. And a right and a straight. Perfect. We don't need far lanes here with no divide. But we will add in again a U-turn, which we'll look in a second. Oop. Let's also add the U-turn over right here. And I probably should have demoed this first, but I did look at the street view earlier. There is no sign prohibiting a U-turn at the intersection. In Massachusetts, where this is, it is legal to make a U-turn from the innermost turn lane, or leftmost, however you want to say that, if there isn't a sign prohibiting it. So there's no sign that direction. As we look this way, there is no sign preventing it this way. You actually, anytime there's an arrow, you can make a U-turn on a divided road. So those are both legal U-turns. We tend to not do them at ramps, but in this case, it looks like it would be fine as well. And this is not a divided road and there's only one lane, so it doesn't matter anyway. This road isn't divided. There is no path for that. So let's save again, just to catch up there. So we have, again, our lane set up there. And now let's tackle this. We now need to put far lanes in for this junction box. So we're going to add lane guidance. We're going to have 4 lanes here coming up. At this junction node, the first one in the box, we only have the keep right to Presidential Way. We want to keep that one. And now we need to set the far turns up on the rest of this. So here, Commerce Way, we know is the left 2 lanes. They're going to be left. Atlantic Avenue, they need to be in the second from the right to continue straight. And again, we're going to give that a verbal instruction because we go from 2 lanes to 3. The right lane is the one you actually need to be in to get there, but it's going to be pretty obvious to users as they pull up that they need to be the second from the right. And I guess we'll allow this U-turn as we mentioned. Oop, and that accidentally reset everything. Let me just quickly put that back. So again, that'll be our U-turn from that lane. Commerce Way again. We're going to have our 2 lefts. Atlantic Ave straight. And there we are. We have our U-turns. We have our straight across voice with voice, and then our keep right. Now, we'd still have that turn instruction internally. I could override it with a turn left here, which would override all of the instructions in the path. But since we don't really need this in the first place, we're just going to set this one to none. So there'll be no turn prompt. Heuristics is kind of looking ahead. Or not heuristics, sorry. Path is looking ahead, and it'll turn left. One other thing to consider here is distance. The push-pull. Is this greater than 50 meters? Let's take a look. We are at 200 feet, which is greater than 50 meters. So to make sure these lanes combine properly and we get the instruction to turn left out there, we need to take our turn instruction and we need to push them. We want to push them to the intersection. Otherwise, Waze will give users coming off a continue straight until they're past this point, until they get past this first junction, and then they only get the turn left instruction in that last 154 feet. That's not a great time to have it. As you're approaching this, you start seeing 4 lanes form. You want to know you got to be in these left 2 lanes. So we're going to push those instructions on the push-pull since it is greater than 50 meters. And with that, we now have that issue solved. We're no longer getting a keep left here. We're actually going to get continue straight for the correct lane with far lanes. So, we have the none there, keeping that, plus we're adding the turn instruction. We now have far lanes that's going to correctly combine these instructions to go across. And we've actually now fixed geometry. We've fixed lanes to accept by having the U-turns in and possibly the instructions. And we're missing just one other thing, and that's going to now be visual instructions. So there's always another layer to all these, and that is, again, we saw just the ramp name in here, and then we saw shields at the next one. We want shields here. This is an interstate. We want a shield coming on here. Let's check what the signage is in 1 second. So first off, we have our continue already happening from the view in here. So we're going to add instructions. And this road is 293 towards Concord, New Hampshire, Boston, and towards I-95. And let's just take a look. Concord, New Hampshire, 93 to I-95. That's the signage. You probably won't see it. Massachusetts isn't always great about signing it straight across, but we do want to warn users what's coming ahead. So we got to zoom out a little bit here. Oh, and we actually have a little bit of the screen cut off, so let us refresh. Nope. Let's do a hard refresh. The problem with working with scripts sometimes. Or just WME being buggy in general. Not sure. One of the two. And maybe it is just being slow. Here we have all that. So let's set our turn instructions. And is the I-93 shield here? It is. To I-93. We don't need that. Concord, New Hampshire. Boston. And in this case, we have that 2 I-95 instruction. So I want a 2. And again, this shield helper is buggy, but I-95 is not available here. So let's zoom out. And here's I-95 here. So now we'll have the option to choose it. To I-95, we'll hit apply. Let's get back in. And let's check our turn instructions to make sure that sign is correct. And there we are, Concord, New Hampshire, Boston to I-95. So we now have our instructions set. I believe these ones already had them. Oh, they didn't because I removed the old junction box. So we will do the same here. I won't do that in the video since you just saw a demonstration of how to do it. But following this, I will be adding the turn instructions back here so they get the visual instructions as well. So just a quick lesson here, whenever you start editing, and you get a report about 1 or 2 things near an intersection, take some time. Look around. What else can you fix? What else might need to be fixed? This was set up incorrectly now for almost 3 years, 3.5 years actually for some of that. So just because we never got a report from users at a major, interstate exit doesn't mean there's not a problem. Don't always assume that just because there's no UR, it doesn't mean there's not a problem. We can always make things better. We are changing standards. We have new features roll out over the years. So whenever you work on something or get a report, be it a UR or PUR, or somebody just saying something in Discord, maybe getting a new chat in WME. Take a second, go, a little bit above and beyond, and those are all quality edits that improve how the intersection works, and, especially if you're a lower rank, these are great types of edits, though you can't do some of these features, but these are all great types of edits and things to work your way up towards the next ranks. So, with that, thanks for watching. Be back soon with some more tutorials.